Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about how to ride a motorcycle. Now this is a sport bike. This is a 2015 Suzuki Gsxr600. It's kind of up to you, whatever you guys want to get. It's just personal preference. But this video will work for any motorcycle. Got another fellow biker over there. So first things first, make sure you guys have a parking lot, somewhere where it's open, where you can learn, where there's not a lot of cars and obstacles. It's just going to make it easier if you're a newer rider. You don't have to worry about all that other stuff right now. And then the second thing is make sure you guys put frame sliders on your bike right here. They go on each side. Just in case you drop the bike, you don't mess it up, especially if you're a new rider. You know, you don't want to get a bike and then drop it and mess it all up. So make sure you get frame sliders on there. So I'm just going to kind of explain what everything is. So basically, if you guys look down here, these are your footrests, all right? You got a footrest on each side. Okay, now we're on the left side of the bike. So up here, you have your clutch. Okay, that's your clutch right there. I'm going to get into that more. Down here, you have your gear selector, where your left foot would be. So your gear selector is right here, and your footrest is right there. So now, if we come to this side, okay, on the right foot peg, where your right foot would be, is your back brake. Your back brake's right here, okay? This is your back brake, and then up over here, where your right hand would be, this is your front brake. So your hand brake is your front brake, and then near your foot, your right foot, would be your back brake. The front brake is 70% of the braking power. The back brake is 30% of the braking power. Over here, we have our throttle. This is what gets new riders in trouble. Have you guys ever heard of whiskey throttle? Basically what whiskey throttle is new riders get on the bike, they don't understand the sensitivity of the throttle, and they just kind of just gun it and just go, like, you know, and they kind of flip the bike or whatever. So basically what you're going to want to do is get used to the sensitivity of the throttle. Turn the bike on, rev it up a little bit, see how sensitive it is. You're going to want to get used to that. I'm going to explain how the gear selector works. This is a 6-speed transmission, and what that means is it's 1 down, 5 up. So first gear's down, the rest are up. If I wanted to get to first gear, I'd slap it down, and if I wanted to get second gear, I'd go up. Third gear up, fourth gear up, fifth, sixth up. Now, if I wanted to go to neutral, so neutral is in the middle of first and second gear. The easiest way to get to neutral would be just slap the gear selector all the way down with your foot until you can't go down anymore. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to go a half click up, not a full click. If you go a full click, you're going to go into second, but you're probably going to do that at first. It's kind of normal. Just kind of have to get used to it. So I'm going to show you guys how to properly get on the bike now, okay? So basically what you're going to do is grab your handlebar over here, your left handlebar, and then take your right hand, grab your front brake, okay, just like this, and then swing your leg over just like that. Get on the bike, bring it up, and then you have your kickstand down here. Just kick the kickstand up just like that. Just get in the habit of doing that. Most bikes have a sensor where it'll cut it off if you put it in gear with the kickstand down. So if your bike keeps shutting off, it's because your kickstand's down. So just move the kickstand up. If you guys are enjoying this video or you learned anything, make sure you guys smash the like button. So before we start going, I'm going to kind of explain what the clutch does. So this right here is what allows you to change gears. So if I was going to use the gear selector, always pull this in anytime you're messing with the gear selector. Let's say I'm moving and I'm in gear and I want to stop, okay? Let's say I'm in like second gear or third gear and I want to stop. I can't just hit the brakes. What I would always want to do is if I'm in gear, pull in the clutch and then stop. This is how you disengage and engage the engine, okay? So basically when you have the clutch in, you're not going to be going anywhere. And when you release it, there's this thing called a friction point. And basically what the friction point is if I'm in gear and I release it and I start rolling, which I'm going to do here in a second, that's called the friction zone. That's what you need to master, is the friction zone. That's what we're trying to get used to. You can move the friction zone in and out right here with this knob, okay? So that's wherever you like it, okay? Just make sure you have a little bit of play in your cable. Let me explain some controls on here before we start the bike. This bike has a daytime running light. It always has low beams on. If you want to turn on your high beams, you just press up like that. There's your high beams. If you wanted to flash your high beams, you just press right there. Has your hazards right there. Okay, so here's the turn signals on a motorcycle. This works different than a car. So if I turn my right signal on, I'm going to need to turn it off. Basically how you do that is you push it in. So if you go right or left, just push the signal in to turn it off, just like that. Right under here you have your horn. Over here is our engine kill switch. So if you look at the half circle with the X through it, that's off. If you look at the open circle with no X, that's on. Off is up here, on is right there. And then this right here is how you fire the bike up. Now when you go to fire the bike up, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and twist the key, just like that. Now you want to make sure you're in neutral. Now I have a neutral light, you can see it's on, so I know I'm in neutral. But another way to tell you're in neutral is you can roll the bike just like this. So you can see how I can rock back and forth. Now if I was in gear, I wouldn't be able to. So look, I'm in gear now. Now I can't rock the bike. If I wanted to go to neutral again, what I would want to do to get to neutral, remember I was talking about that gear pattern? Look, I'm tapping the gear selector, it won't go down anymore. So I literally just go half a click up, the neutral light comes on. I know I'm in neutral. So what you're going to do is pull the clutch in. So over here, like I said, you have the kill switch. Just turn it to the open circle like that. You'll hear the fuel pump prime, and then just fire the bike up, just like that. Now the bike's on. So the way we're going to put it in first, anytime you touch the gear selector, always pull in the clutch, like I said. So the clutch is right here. Boom. I push the gear selector down towards the ground. My gear indicator says I'm in first gear, right? So we're just practicing the friction zone. See where it just takes me and rolls me like that? See where I start to roll? I'm rolling. I'm going to practice that. I'm rolling. Just literally just practice rolling. Don't even touch the throttle yet. You don't even need it. Just get used to that friction zone. Practice that however long it takes you. This is the hardest part. This is going to take a little bit of time. So don't get frustrated. Like that guy over there, he's learning too, man. We're all learning, just having fun. So we're just going to practice using first gear and just practice the roll, okay? Now when you get rolling, what you can do is you can pull the clutch in, pop it in gear, and have your feet guide you for about 2 to 3 steps, and then put your feet up on the peg rests, okay? So you can do that. You can kind of walk the bike for like 2 to 3 steps, not that long, and then kind of put your feet up. So basically what I mean is this, okay? You see my feet, how I walk the bike with me for like 2 or 3 steps, and then as I move, I bring my feet up to the footrest. And make sure when you position your feet on the footrest, try not to have them flaring out too much. Kind of have them straight up and down if you can, so that way when you turn, your foot doesn't like hit the ground, you don't break your foot. We're just going to practice going in first gear and practice that friction zone. No throttle. No throttle. Watch, I don't even need the throttle. See, I'm just rolling. I'm literally just rolling. Okay, so we're just practicing that right there. We're just practicing that roll. Practice the same thing, but this time try and use a little bit of throttle. So watch, I'm gonna roll, have my feet guide me, 1, 2, 3, I'm up, my feet are on the footrest, and then kind of let it out and just give it a little throttle, just a little bit. See, just a little bit. Now I can let off. Now I'm gonna use my brakes, pull in the clutch, apply my front brake and my rear brake, and gradually stop, okay? Just like that. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna try shifting into second gear. So basically how you're gonna wanna do this, just pull this in, slap the gear selector down, you're in first gear, kind of roll how I just showed you to. And then what you're gonna do to shift into second gear, all you're going to do is pull the clutch in, move the gear selector as far as you can up. That's going to go into second gear. Okay, that's going to put you into second gear. Well, then what you're going to do is once you shift into second gear, like boom, I just shifted into second gear, you're going to slowly ease out that clutch to that friction zone and let the clutch kind of catch instead of just doing this. You don't want to just do that, okay? You want to ease it out and get used to that friction zone. So the friction zone's right about there. Just let it out, let the clutch catch, and kind of just release and roll on the throttle. So just like this. Roll my feet, okay, 1, 2, and then kind of just go like that. Put my feet up on the foot pegs, bring in the clutch, shift up to second gear, ease it out. Don't just dump it. Don't just dump it. Just like that. Just practice that in the parking lot a little bit, guys. You can give it a little throttle as you do it. Just be careful, okay? Just kind of be careful or do that step thing. Now we're going to shift into second gear, okay? Now I'm going to shift down into first and then stop the bike with both brakes, just like that, and put my feet down. That's how you're going to want to stop. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to practice weaving right here. I'm going to show you guys what to do here in a sec, but basically what this is going to do is anytime you're on a motorcycle, especially on a sport bike, you're going to be leaning a lot. And before I go take you out there and show you a little bit about cornering, I want you guys to practice weaving. You want to get used to that. You basically just want to push where you go. You're going to see when I weave, I'm not turning the handlebars like this. I'm just leaning. I'm pushing. It's basically called countersteering is kind of what you're doing. You just kind of push where you want to go. So if I wanted to go this way, I'd push that way. If I wanted to go this way, I'd push that way. Now at lower speeds, you can kind of turn like this. Now at slower speeds, you're going to see what I mean. you know, you can kind of turn the wheel a little bit, but you don't, when you're going faster, that's not what you want to do. You kind of just want to push where you want to go. Push, 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 and just, I'm not really turning the wheel, you see what I'm saying? Let's say a deer jumped out. There's one or two things I can do. I can either weave out of the way, or you can brake on the dime. So you got to make a decision. That's why you want to develop good habits. If it comes up, you'll be prepared for it. So this time, an obstacle is going to pop out on me and I'm going to weave. Okay, so I would do this, just like this. All right, I'm rolling. Obstacle pops out, I do the weave, just like that, okay? That's a weave. Or what you guys can do is emergency brake. I'm going to go into second gear, something pops out in front of me and I have to emergency stop. Now watch. All right, shift into second. All right, now something just stopped out. Boom, emergency brake, boom, like that. I downshift into first, I apply both brakes gradually. That's called emergency braking. Like I said, if something jumps out in front of you, you can either brake or you can weave out of the way. You don't want to do both, and I'll explain that later. What we're going to talk about now is turning, okay? Now, anytime you're going into a turn, what you're going to want to do is get your speed right before you go into the turn, and don't look down. You're going to want to look through the turn. Look through the turn. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going a little faster than I want. Okay, I slow down before I go into the turn. My braking's done. I look through the turn and I just turn just like that. I'm looking through the turns, and the motorcycle will go where you look. Now they're going to teach you this thing in the class. When you go to take a turn, you can come outside right here and then you can cut in and then go back out. It's basically called accelerating out of the apex is what you're doing. So it kind of looks like this. So if I'm over here just like this, I'm starting out outside and then I'm cutting in inside like this, and then I'm accelerating out of the apex of the turn. It kind of gives you the greatest room for error. So if I'm coming on the outside and then I cut inside, if I go a little wide, I have that room, you know what I'm saying? Imagine if I was on the outside the whole time and I go a little too wide, I'm going to go off the road, you know what I mean? So that's why you want to cut, you want to come outside, cut inside, and then come back out. It's just basically going to keep you the safest. That's the way you want to do it. That's how they teach it in the safety course as well. Let's say I'm in a turn and I have to stop in the turn. This is how most of the people drop their bike in my class. I'm going to teach you what you don't want to do, okay? So you don't want to be in the turn and then brake in the turn. That's not what you want to do. All right, so if I'm in the turn and I have to brake, so say I'm in the turn like this, if I have to brake, I want to straighten the bike up and then brake. So that way I don't brake in the turn and then fall. Your bike's like this and you apply the brake, you don't have that much traction on the road because you're leaned over. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to show you guys what I mean right now. Okay. Now I'm turning and all of a sudden something happens. I straighten up and I brake like that. I don't brake as I'm turning. You see what I'm saying? So never ever be leaned over and brake because you're going to fall. Can't emphasize that enough. Now I can use my back brake in a tight turn, like say I'm in a parking garage or just a real tight turn, you know what I mean? I can use my back brake. You never want to use your front brake in a turn, never. Alright, so I hope this video helped you out. That's a beginner's tutorial on how to ride, just the basics. Remember, I'm going to be starting a series and diving into more topics about how to ride. So if you guys are serious on riding, consider subscribing to my channel. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.